thank you, Cry, for your demo on GUI applications, because it's an introduction what you will see here, how we can improve GUI application to the next level. So, well, what I will talk about today is how you can develop Linux desktop GUI applications in your Windows box without switching, without reboots, and without virtual machines. I will use JetBrains CLion with the help of Rider. Everything I will do here can be done in Visual Studio Code, and you can refer to the yesterday Erika presentation for that. Well, I will use Pengwin for everything in this presentation. So, well, probably you know these numbers already. This is the user market share of desktop operating systems. And you already know that Windows, as today, has 77% of the user base. So if you want to build a new application for desktop, probably the best bet is to go with Windows. But why bother about this? Only 2% of Linux. Why Microsoft is porting their application like Teams or the browser Edge or Visual Studio Code? Because, well, 2% of the worldwide users, they are a lot. We can expand our usage of our application. So what's up is if we develop the Windows application and the Linux application in the same machine, in the same system. So I will show couple of demos. In this, I will show application that is a time tracker. It's called Toggle, the service that you can track your time, your development time, or in your company. And it has clients for everything, even mobile phones. They are open source, and they use .NET for Windows, and they use Qt and C++ for Linux UI. And they have a shared code in C++. So for this demo, we will use Rider for the .NET part and CLion for the Linux part. So the next step, well, go to GitHub and clone the Toggle repository. We use the JetBrains toolbox extension for that and clone it in Rider. Then, okay, I open Rider and on the repository and look for the solution, Toggle desktop solution, and run it. Okay, this is a normal Windows application made in Windows Presentation Framework. And okay, it's here running. So let's see what can do with WSL. Well, prepare the environment. As Grace said, we need an X server. Pengwin comes with Visual C X server. Also, you can install X410, it's very good. Also, we need to configure an SSH server like you saw yesterday in the Erika presentation. And we need to install CMake and all the C++ environment in WSL. So, well, let's open Pengwin. And in this case, Pengwin Setup will help us in setting everything. Okay, I will tell Pengwin Setup not only to install the X server, but also install base libraries with everything needed, especially for Qt application that they need debug and other tweaks to work right. Also, Pengwin Setup put X server as startup. So when you launch again Pengwin, the X server will launch automatically. And well, now let's tell Pengwin Setup to install everything we need for C++ development. It automatically install for CLion and for Visual Studio. Install the latest CMake and also the Microsoft CMake alongside. Also configures the SSH server for port 2222. Next. Okay, for this project, we need to install the Qt dependencies so we can compile everything. We configure CLion to connect to WSL and then load the project build and run everything. Okay, the classical apt get. Now, I will open CLion and open the same code base that we saw in the Rider. It was downloading my Rider project. And let's see the same project now open in CLion. And let's configure the WSL. CLion, by default, it uses Visual Studio. And we will add support for WSL. And then we need to choose what I have many distributions installed. Use Pengwin. And now we tell CLion to connect to our SSH server using the same credential that we use to enter in Pengwin. We can use also certificates and any other thing SSH support. Also, we put WSL as default. It's very important. CLion refresh the CMake project. And just we need to select the application and debug it. So let's while to compile. Okay, now we have our Qt Linux application running on WSL. You can see it's a Qt application running. Then, well, let's think in the use case. We got a ticket that we need to make a change in the UI of the bot application or the bot ports. And well, let's try to do it right away. Okay, we have already running Toggle Desktop. Then I will run again Rider. Okay, I open the application again. So, well, side by side, your Windows application and your Qt application. For this application to work, we need to log into the system. I will log into my account. In Windows, it opened the browser to log in using Google. And in Linux, it has an embedded browser, and it's almost the same experience. Okay, we have the two applications, and now, well, we need to make a change. In About box, we have release channel marketing things that is better to the channel called Canary instead of Dev. So, well, let's make the change. Okay, let's first make the change in Linux. We need to make the change in the two parts because this application has different UI for different operating systems. Okay, so let's open the About dialog C++ and make the change. Okay, and let's run. Well, I am using a debugger, so yeah, I can put breakpoints. And in the case of Qt application, they load everything at the startup, so a breakpoint, exactly. So as we saw yesterday with Visual Studio, well, you can, even the graphical application, be debugged. So let's see if our change made. And now make the change in the Windows part is made using Presentation Foundation. So it's an XML file. Let's go at the end. And here we have the combo items. Let's wait a bit. Okay, well, now I am running the Windows part, and let's see if our change made. And that's it. So we have the change in Linux and in Windows, same box, the same code and everything. Well, what are advantages of this approach? Well, reboots, no virtual machines, the same developer and same code base. What it means that you have in companies one team for Windows, one team for Linux port, one team for Mac OS, or if everything is in the same team, you have developers with Linux boxes and with Windows, and they split the ticket Or the worst, you develop first for Windows, and after 3 releases, you make the change to Linux. The idea here is that you can see side by side your ports, and you can assign to the same developer. You can use the same code base. I mean, you don't need to copy to a virtual machine. You don't need to send it to another developer. Everything live in the same. So the result is that your ports are in sync. This is what the Linux user complains every day, that the Linux ports are not in sync with the Windows one. Okay, so I mentioned one technology. There are many more, and they're all run in WSL. As Java was created from the ground up, be closed platform, and you know, JetBrains IDEs and Eclipse and many others are Java based. We have also what we've seen Qt. If you are the C++ developer and you have lots of code in C++, this is the way to go. Even the JetBrains toolbox is made in C. Have also GTK and GTK Sharp. If you combine it with Mono, you can develop .NET cross-platform applications using this. Also, something new is Avalonia. Avalonia is inspired in Windows Presentation Foundation and Universal Windows Platform. And using the same idioms, you can develop cross-platform .NET applications. Also, Electron. Electron is based on HTML and CSS, and well, many applications, Visual Studio Code, Microsoft Teams, and many other cross-platforms applications are made using. Well, the last here is Mono. Mono is a cross-platform environment for .NET, and it also supports Windows Forms that can be ported easily. So, well, that's it. We have a lot of technologies, but maybe there is another option. What about Wine? Do you know that Wine runs in WSL2? Wine is a compatibility layer between Windows application and Linux. They can run Windows application completely unmodified in Linux. And also they are a suite for Win32 applications and some WinForms application with .NET. Well, with a little of help, we can make run WPF application also, due to Wine has a very good DirectX and Directory support. So, well, let's see an example. This is WinMerge. This is a Win32 application written in Microsoft Foundation classes. And well, let's go again to the GitHub, open Rider. Rider is not for C++, but this project uses a Visual Studio solution. So we will use Rider right now. You can use Visual Studio also. And let's see if we can execute WinMerge in Wine. First, the official page of Wine. In the case of Pengwin, we will use Debian. And also, we need the 32-bit layer. So this is why it won't run in WSL1. We need a bit more power. And well, the classical download the certificate, install the repository. It's important, this here, same as Kali Linux, Pengwin is based on Debian testing. So everything you do in Pengwin, try to look for the repositories, Debian testing. Okay, well, add to the apt source. Okay, let's see. Wine. I won't lie you, it takes a lot. But meanwhile, we need to install also capstract because it's needed for Windtricks. Let's open another instance of Pengwin. Meanwhile, we can install Windtricks. Windtricks is used to download the dependencies that we need in Wine to make our Linux application, Windows application run. So let's install it. And it's very useful always to install the batch completion thing. Help us a lot. Typing is a bit more configuration and save us a lot of. Okay, let's configure Wine. We need to tell Wine that use Win32 because it by default use Win64 and it doesn't run very well yet. Okay, let's not install Mono for now and install Gecko. It's the HTML engine and that's it. This is Wine running. And then, well, let's see if we can run WinMerge. I will clone the repository and instead of using the plugin, I will use directly Rider. Choose the 2019 solution for this. And well, let's run it like any other Windows application. Important here, you need to install the Microsoft Foundation classes for it compiles. Okay, important. Okay, this is WinMerge running in Windows. Nothing special. So I didn't explain, but I changed to Win32 for it compiles correctly. Let's copy the path because we will need it right now. Okay, and that's it. This is our Windows application running on Wine, running on WS. Okay, you can see the file structure that in fact, we are not running in Windows, we are running inside WSL. Okay, well, And what about the Toggle Desktop? Did you notice that the Qt port doesn't look the same as the Windows? Well, let's try to run it in Wine also. For this, we need to install .NET Framework, and let's see if we can run it. Okay, well, this is not Windows, so to make it run, we need to install .NET Framework 2, .NET Framework 2 Service Pack 2, but Winetricks will help us a lot in this. Okay, this is why we install Capstrack. And well, we pass with all the installation. Okay, Winetricks will first install .NET 4, then .NET 4.5, then 1, and then 6.2. But this is a process that the developer will do once because everything is safe in the Wine configuration, and then you can pack your application with everything inside so the user don't need to do this process. Also, you can deploy your very own Wine version. Don't worry about the updates or something that can break your application. Okay, ready? We are one more, or 6.2. Well, let's see. What can we do? Let's run it again, the Windows port. And let's again, Rider help us with the path. Hopefully Rider don't use backslash, so we don't need to convert every separator. Okay, let's do the same. Change directory. Look for the mont C drive. And well, let's see if it runs. Okay, you have the Windows port and the Linux port in the same machine. Let's log in it. And that's it. Anyone can notice the difference between the ports. You can really give your users a very good experience. This exactly the same UI. Let's see also if our change is still there, no? The release channel. Oh, it's there here. It's the same code. Let's see, for example, the preference dialog. And that's it. It's the same interface. So, well, what it means? With minimal effort, I ported my Windows application to Linux. You can customize Wine, customize colors, fonts, themes, and pack everything in a snap. We'll show something later. And well, it's still your application, and also Wine is open source. So if something doesn't run well with Wine, well, you can still file a bug in Wine. You can modify it and put your modification in your package. You can use a workaround or simply disable some features in Linux until you find the way to do it. Let's talk about NetCore 3. NetCore 3 is open source, and it includes Windows Presentation Foundation and Windows Form only for Windows. But do you know that there are people right now working with .NET Core and Wine, and you can test the market? You know, you can do like TeamViewer people did. Let's see one application. So if you go to your Ubuntu box and snap install Notepad++, very used Windows application, someone ported to Ubuntu using Wine, the user doesn't need to do anything more than install the package and your application is running. Okay. Okay. Let's see some success cases. TeamViewer. TeamViewer released in 2012 the Linux port using Wine, and only in 2018, after they reached 200K connection per month only from Linux boxes, they said, okay, we need a native port for Linux. Meanwhile, they use with minimal effort the Wine. Also, Play is a project called Proton between Valve Wine community and Codeweavers to bring as most as they can Windows games to Linux. Okay, so you install Steam for Linux and you can download your favorite game in the same experience as in Windows. Limbo, for example, when it launched for Windows and also for Linux using Wine at the same time. And well, let's talk about Crossover. It's, the company behind it is Codeweaver. They have about 20 years porting Windows application to Linux using Wine. Their first achievement was to port Office 2000 to Linux. Nowadays, through Crossover, you can run Office 365, the latest 19.8 in Linux through this. So, well, what happens if you run your application using Wine and it works? Well, Wine not only runs in Linux, you open your application to also OS X market, also Chrome OS, and Android. And well, that's it. Questions? Suggestions? What do you think?
Wow, Carlos, what a fantastic demo. I think we all really appreciated that. We do have one question, I believe, in the Q&A, and as other questions come up, do post them in the Q&A section. And this is from Tom. Could you explain the VC cross-serve integration in Pengwin a little more if you can? That was really impressive.
That's it, and this is the magic. Ubuntu has something similar. Okay, we at every start we detect if we are in WSL 2 or WSL 1, and we set the environment variables. This is the magic. Also, for this magic in CLion works, we need to set up this file parameters, and Pengwin do it in every startup. This is something that Patrick made recently. and works very good. That's it. The integration that you need is this thing. Put the right value here. And one trick is that if you put the IP with the gateway or the IP that is connected to the internet, you don't need to open the firewall for public access X server.
Yes, and it looks like Shane has another question. Have you experimented with X410 from the Microsoft Store 11 server? If so, are there any appreciable benefits using it versus?
Yes, in fact, in Pengwin, we recommend this X server because they do a very good support. They are improving it every time to especially run in WSL. And also they have a very good how-to page. We recommend it. Simply, we don't install it by default because licenses issues. Yes, we recommend it a lot.
And I think we have one more question from Stellian. Is it possible to run and debug Java applications from IntelliJ directly in WSL?
Yes, but you need to run IntelliJ inside WSL. This is something that the community asks us, JetBrains many times. Probably they are working on it, but for now, with WSL2, it runs very well. So you put your X server and run everything inside WSL. But the support like we saw in CLion, or we saw also Python, PyCharm has the same integration. We don't have it in IntelliJ yet. So this, check it out. This guy is running .NET Core applications using Wine. So probably in the near future, we can see or Wine with .NET Core inside, or .NET Core inside Wine, or .NET Core for Linux using WineLib to use it.
Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, then I think we owe Carlos a great thank you, and I'm so excited to dig in myself. With that, thank you again so much. We look forward to playing around, and I think we are ready for our next presenter, Asif.
Okay, I will say thank you to Hayden and the community and Canonical and Microsoft for the opportunity to talk here, and it's very important for me. Thank you to all.